What is up, guys? I am Joseph, this is JosephsPlace, and welcome to another video in the Barbarian Assault video series where I'm going to attempt to teach you how to play this minigame and have a blast. Now, I'm really excited to talk about this role because it is my favorite, the Defender role, and I know a lot of people are scared or really don't like this role, but personally, I think it has the most skill involved into it and the most mechanics to it, and I find it the most enjoyable. And once you get the hang of it, it's really not too difficult, so I'm going to do my best to explain it to you. So once you get started in a wave, you need to go over and use the lever for the Defender that gets you to the Defender supplies. And this gives you a bunch of food that you can drop. Now, just as a quick tip, you can drop by single clicking. So all you have to do is just click on it and it drops it. So what you need to do is lure the penance runners over to one of the two traps. Now, for the most part, you should just use one trap, and the east side is the easiest, as the penance runners only go out of this one exit, and it's closest to this trap. So what you need to do is lure these penance runners to the trap by dropping the correct food on the ground. Now, this trap only has two uses before it breaks, so you can fix this by grabbing a hammer and logs from the middle of the map. So that is a very, very general explanation of what to do, and I'm going to go a little bit more in depth for the Defender role, just to kind of clear it up a little bit. So one strategy, let me just start off with this, that is really good to do, especially for people starting out and are scared of the runners getting through the exit, is to drop the incorrect food by the exit. That way, if the runners get there, they'll be attracted to the food, they'll notice it's the wrong one, and then they'll run the opposite way, pushing them away from the exit, which is good for you. So once you go ahead and do that, you can do that very quickly at the start of a wave. You can go over to the east trap and start setting down the correct food by your trap. You need to lure them to eat a food and the correct food into one block on any side of the trap for them to get caught in it. Now, this food is correct based on the time that it's placed down. For example, if someone calls crackers and you drop a cracker and then the food changes to tofu, that cracker is still correct, as the time it was dropped down, it was correct, so it will always be correct. So one thing to do is right away, run over to the trap and just drop some correct food on the tiles adjacent to it, so then if someone gets lured to it, they'll be lured right to the trap. Now, what you're going to want to do next is just focus on making a path of correct food leading the runners towards your trap. And at the beginning, this is very easy because they're coming from that one end of the map and they're running across. So if you just lay a trail of breadcrumbs, so to speak, towards your trap, they're more likely to be attracted to it and go towards the trap. Now, one thing to do right away is once you drop 3 or 4 food, go over and grab a hammer and 2 or 3 stacks of logs. Especially at the beginning, it's important because there's not a whole lot going on within the first minute of a wave. So if you can grab those in the beginning, it helps you out so much more later on. So you don't have enemies everywhere and runners all over the place and you need to get wood because your trap's broken. Grabbing those at the beginning is very, very helpful. So again, once you drop some food adjacent to the trap, you drop a little bit of food leading up to the trap and then pick yourself up some hammer or some logs and a hammer, you're pretty good to go. Now, the only thing you need to focus on is leading these runners towards a trap. Now, it is a little bit harder than it sounds. You do need to be a little bit smart with how you place food, and especially at level 1 Defender, your lure range is kind of small. So you need to be a little bit careful, and you need to do your best to have things set up in advance. That's why you want to try to get to your trap before the runners get too far down the map. I would say that this role does have the hardest learning curve, and that curve is basically knowing what your lure radius is and what you need to do in order to get the runners to be attracted to your food. However, once you get the hang of it, it is relatively simple, and you do have more or less the easiest job because you don't have to attack anything, and if you have your trap and your food set up correctly, you'll pretty much win without having to do too much. Now, one good thing about this minigame is the cannon. And the good thing about it is you don't lose points for shooting the runners. So if a collector has collected a lot of eggs, puts them in the cannon, and you're just fed up, you just want to be done with this wave, you had a bad wave, whatever, go ahead and shoot those runners. You don't lose any points. So that's really good, especially when you're starting out, because if you can stall them out while the collector gets some eggs, you can just go ahead and shoot them. And then as you get better at Defender, you'll have less and less need of that. But towards the beginning, as you're starting out, that is incredibly helpful. So be sure to tell your collector, if they are able to, deposit some red or green eggs so you can just shoot the runners if you are getting a little bit fed up. And you can also block the runners by standing in front of them. They tend to not like to run through people. So if you stand in front of them, you can block them for a little while you wait for some eggs, or you can have someone else block them if you're the last one done. So that is a mechanic that can help out quite a bit. But again, a lot of this role does come from just practice. And as cliche as it sounds, the more you do it, the better you'll get. And the only reason I say it for this role is because I do think it has the hardest learning curve. So try not to get too frustrated when you're first starting out, because again, it is a difficult role. Now, the benefits of leveling this up are actually pretty large. Leveling up Defender actually increases your luring range by up to 10 spaces. You start off at level 1 with +4 luring range, and at level 5 you have +10. So you get over double the luring range just by getting level 5. So again, very helpful if you plan on doing this long term, and if you are just going for the torso, just use those early waves to practice the mechanics as much as possible so you can get maximum points in the later range, as letting runners go past does lose you a significant amount of points. So that is all I have for this video. If you guys have any questions on how to be a better defender, ask me in the comments below and I'll do my best to help you out. But I hope you did enjoy this video and I hope it helped you. But that is all I have. So again, I am Joseph, this was Joseph's Place, and I'll see you next time.